Hello?
KG3.
LA5, I can hear you. All right. I'm going to turn you up, though, quickly, because that's necessary. There we
I
go.
must say you're looking very glorious today.
Oh, my good man, you're so kind. And you look heavenly, as always. I think you got a haircut. You did, didn't you?
No, but it's longer now, so it styles differently. However, I've been using a new tool,
Oh, what's the new tool?
the blow dryer.
Oh, it works wonders, doesn't it?
And it feels so nice. It's
It
just like,
does.
yes, I would love a jet stream of warm air to flood my face and hair and shape it into a wispy goodness.
Speaking of jet air, how was that 7-hour flight yesterday?
Ooh, 7-hour flight. That was a good one. Air is
Yeah.
a lot better this time
Mm-hmm.
because I did not get motion sick.
There you go. That's
I
a
did
good
the
way to
first
start.
time. Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't think I was going to. But that is what happened then, but not this time. My expectation was different.
Oh.
It wasn't about, trying to have a really awesome good time. It was, well, I know it's a bit of a challenge now. So there's going to be some element of endurance. To stay in one little cab for 6.5 hours, you don't move. You don't stretch out. You're in there for 6.5 hours. You don't go to the washroom. You're doing your thing in a tiny little cockpit where you just kind of, so you got to accept that you're not going to be able to stretch out or move or be free in that way. However, like the movie that I watched last night, freedom starts in the mind.
Ah, is that the name of the film?
No,
Oh.
Brian Banks, that's the name of the film. But
Crying Banks or
they
Prime
set
Banks?
the theme. Brian
Oh,
Banks.
Brian Banks. Okay.
Based on a true story that a guy was wrongly accused, then went to jail for 6 years,
Oh.
but then was able to find justice by the truth coming to light, all charges dropped, and then he played for the NFL.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know of him, and I remember when that was actually taking place. That's crazy. So, that's great that all the charges were up and stuff. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what I love about it, though? You know what I love about almost any true story?
Hmm.
At least the ones that we see that get made all the time.
Yeah.
The inspiring ones, which I always think is leading to that anyway. But these inspiring true events, I find the theme of this person had a set story. And there is always these moments and patterns that made it look like their dreams were never going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Some kind of an obstacle presents itself and everything just falls apart at the 11th hour. But that is then utilized to build them into something even greater than they were before, so that when they do step into their dream, they're even better than they were before. Thus, they experience and take in more of it because now they're actually ready for it. But first, they got to get ready.
Yeah.
And it's the building of the character that then gets them ready to fully embrace what that true gift, that dream was. And then Babumbier, it comes into fruition. There's
How
a timing.
amazing is that for him, though? Like that, he went from 6 years in jail to the NFL. That means while he's in jail, he had to have been training. He had to be doing doing things to keep his body in shape and also still have his goal be football at some point, which is amazing.
Yeah, definitely to a degree. However, it was made apparent that he wasn't ready for the NFL like he should have been had he kept on training. Because 6 years of not playing football,
Oh, goodness.
he failed.
I bet.
Even though the Seattle coach wanted him to be good enough to play on the team, he couldn't put him on the team.
Oh.
He had to say, no, you're not ready. Just got to go to training camp. Another team did the exact same thing. Then another thing happened again. He tried out numerous times until finally, about maybe a year and a half later, he was invited to actually partake in the game, and he got to lead the squad.
Wow.
His first game as an NFL player, he got to lead the team onto the field.
Who was he ended up playing for?
49ers?
Oh, San
I think
Francisco.
it might have been the 49ers.
Okay. That is such
Which
a
is interesting. 7 times 7. 7 being the number of alignment and perfection.
No kidding. Wow, there's something to that for sure. Just numbers
Yeah.
and numerology, things popping up. But imagine that, 7 years in prison, and then also wrongly accused, falsely accused,
Falsely. Yeah.
and then stepping out a free man and saying, all right, back to the grindstone, back to what my dream was before all this took place.
And you know what he had to learn how to let go? Everything.
Yeah.
He had to learn how to forgive the woman that put him there through the lie that she perpetuated. He had to learn how to rise above circumstances and constant resistance, and he had to learn how to bridle himself when he's already in the right. But the rules say this is the way to handle the situation and not knock the person out.
Of
I
course.
can't just knock out my parole officer, even though he's standing in my way right now, and he's the one that's stopping me from getting to my interview. That will drop the entire case. But my PO is in my way.
What? That was
Okay,
a thing,
I'm gonna
obviously?
that was a thing. And he had to entertain his PO while his PO got a search team to search the entire car for who knows how long that took. Meanwhile, he's missing his important meeting with the most important lawyer to get his case back into activation again. And everything inside of him just wants to like throttle probably this obstacle coming in the form of the PO, but his heart and his spirit says, no, we got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Let's be patient. Let it play out. And he still made it on time.
Patience is a virtue.
And conduct is the
Yes.
medium.
That's right. That's what an incredible story.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is. It's amazing. And also, like you said, true stories. Those are always the best ones. Also,
They're
just
so inspiring.
they are. There's so many good football
And-
stories that are based on true stories.
Yeah, and they always seem to end in victory for whatever like that hope was.
Yeah.
That
Well-
hope that was burning inside of the protagonist's heart.
But and I guess as an audience member, that's what we want to see, though. We want to see them persevere. If it just ended where it's like, imagine it's like, and then he was put back into prison. He didn't make it to the meeting in time, and that's where he remains today.
Right, we're
Like-
predisposed into wanting that protagonist to succeed.
Yeah, we want that success, and that would be it'd be a different movie, a different experience, of course. And there's plenty out there like that, and there's plenty of real life stories that are unfortunately unfolding that way. But
KG3.
yeah, LA5.
What if I told you
Well,
that you are the protagonist of your story?
I would have to say action.
See, that reminds me of the time that I came into your place after doing an extended meditation that made me late for my actual presence to be apparent. But when I walked into the door, I said, faith is film. Remember that? When I walked in, and one of the first words I said to you was, faith is film, and film is faith.
I want you to expound on that because I'm trying to remember. Was that while you were here last year?
A couple years ago.
It was. So it'd be. I think it was Poco, right? That sounds more right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one.
Okay.
Well, yeah. But put it this way. Whatever we have inside of our hearts, our faith. And by faith, I mean what we subconsciously believe to be true. Not what we necessarily think we know is true, but like what we truly believe beyond our thinking is fundamentally true.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes the very charge that interacts with the quantum pixels of the air of our environment that then determines what image gets painted. So it's the mechanism of how the universe basically interacts with our user interface, and then that gets rendered into an experience that our mind translates into the five senses, complete with the monologue of the mind, inner thinking,
Yes.
and emotions. But nonetheless, it is simply quantum pixels. So this particular place, let's call it as a thought experiment, let's call it a virtual reality. In this virtual reality, we got free will, meaning whatever our heart desires, we can experience it. If we keep on knocking on the same door, it is going to open, and we will experience what our heart desires. But have you ever heard the phrase, be careful what you wish for?
I have indeed.
Because if it's true that our heart is always wishing and whatever our heart is wishing for will be granted, suddenly it becomes pretty important what we're wishing for.
Yes.
And are we wishing for the things that are truly to our benefit? Or is it actually a false benefit and it's actually a trick where we think it's going to bring us joy and we think it's going to bring us a good time, we think it's going to bring us peace?
Well, that's the difference
But
between
instead-
wants and needs.
Interesting. Explain.
Well, it's like if you desire what you truly need for stability, both in the heart and the mind in your life, needs can always be fulfilled when you ask for them. Wants come from a different side of things, because a lot of time wants interfere not only with your own growth, your own life, but with those around you. So if you're like wants, and that doesn't always apply, sometimes your wants still get fulfilled and they affect no one around you. I'm not saying that it's 100% a guarantee, but a lot of times wants will come from more of an ego stance. So it's coming from a I want, me, this is for me. Where a need, that can outstretch so much further than just yourself. Because a need for companionship still brings in someone else. A need for love still brings in anything from a love of a passion to a love of a pet to a love of a friend to a love of a like the person you end up spending your life with, to family members. So yeah, needs are always fulfilled when you ask for them and you allow them to come to you in however way God allows it. Whereas wants is more something you are pushing yourself towards, and all depending how you go about it can be both beneficial or quite detrimental. My thoughts on it.
Okay, so here's where my mind went when you were describing that, which I think is pretty awesome, because the way that I was understanding when you were saying needs is the things that we receive. The things that we receive in our day-to-day that really, truly gives us a future and gives us the ability to keep on going. And not just keep on going, but be in balance. Like, for example, friendship, relationships, pets, all these things, they keep us balanced in our emotional faculties. They keep us in that state of peace. Food. Gotta have food.
Yeah.
I mean, I do the odd day of intermittent fasting, but food's pretty important if I'm going to keep this biological suit running in an optimal, balanced way. So, good nutrition and good food, suddenly that becomes a fundamental need as well. And guess what? These meals just keep on showing up every day.
Yeah.
And not just that, but like anything that I feel like, I can go get it.
In today's day and age, you're darn tootin'.
And sometimes just like amazing food just finds me. And it's like, well, that's amazing. Bills. We got to pay bills. But guess what? That usually finds a solution as well, where I've never really been in a situation where I can't give what I need to in the moment. Whatever bill I've ever had, I've always had the money to actually deal with it. It's just whether or not I have the character to actually pay the money.
There it is.
Times
There's
that
a
I
big one.
didn't.
There's
But
always
the need was
time.
still always there.
There's
It was always
always
fulfilled.
it's always fulfilled. And but like you said, just let's go off on bills for a second. Things that, again, to a certain degree, all depending on the bill, actually almost all bills still, it's still a choice you made that I will pay that bill. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do in today's era, but you don't need a cell phone, but you choose to pay that bill because you want it and you want to stay connected, or you want it for whatever reason you use it for. But then because you agreed, yes, I want this convenience, I will pay this bill every month, but I now know that bill has to be paid every month. So you will do what is necessary to make sure that bill is paid. Same thing with rent, same thing with utilities. You could choose to say, I don't want to do any of that and just go live on the street, live in a tent, live wherever. But it still is but then you're paying the price in a different way. It's not necessarily a financial one, but it's maybe in a physical, a spiritual, a comfortability. We're always being taxed, but it's just not always through cash.
Oh.
There's always a taxing effect on everything we choose to do, and it's up to us to make sure we have enough. Not just for the next bill cycle, but even future cycles coming up. Hence why some people financially will have that nest egg, just as some people will work out just so their body can stay sufficient throughout the year. Where other people, they'll say, yeah, I'll make sure to maybe do a bike ride every weekend or maybe once a week. And then there are those who are like, I'm going to cycle every day. The difference of the compounding, right? Those who say, hey, I got it in, and those who say, this is necessary for more. I was listening to
a character to me.
That's right. It's character building. It is. It's all about character building. You're building your character. Talk about the protagonist of the film. What type of protagonist do you want to be? If we're all
dynamic.
in our exactly, if we're all in our hero arc, what stage are you in your hero arc? Because every hero arc has to go through devastation before they reach their pinnacle. There's always something that essentially dismantles them from their present situation to allow them to be born into their future, I'll use your term earlier, awesomeness.
Oh, so good.
It feels good.
Okay, so as a writer, you've been a student of the story arc. Are you able to identify any additional phases within that story arc of how that typically goes, or any cycles, any patterns?
There is always the giving up while in the hero arc. There's always an arc where it's so there's the you are who you've always been. Something devastating happens to catapult you into a new situation. Within that new situation, you redefine yourself and find a new purpose. And through that purpose, you risk it all to make sure that that purpose is fulfilled. Once it's fulfilled and now you're actually there and you've been doing it for long enough, this is where you actually start to almost, I'll use a layman's term, you almost get bored, or you feel like it's like you've achieved it and you drop off and you give up on it. And in a lot of ways, you kind of fall back into your old life. And when you fall back into your old life, you realize you don't belong there anymore. You can't be that anymore. So you choose to, again, climb out of that pit to get back to that purpose that you were a part of that you decided to give up on. So there's always we'll call it the reassuring that it was the right choice, but it's a self-inflicted reassuring. And that doesn't mean that it's just like everything's going smoothly and you just decide, I'm done. Usually it's going smoothly. Something out external happens that makes you question if you're even on the right path. So you're now questioning if you were doing the right thing to begin with. But then by going back to where you were, you realize, yes, I was on the right path. And then that's the awesome part. Because now you go back to your new purpose with an even more defined reassurance of it. And you try to look for a new purpose while in that purpose. And you keep extending upwards. Because you can't go back. You can't go back. You can't go back home, as they say. Like, it's just, there is nothing to go back to because it's in the past. It is something you experienced, and now it's only something to draw on for inspiration and for guidance and for remembrance. But to sink back to where you were is no longer an option.
Because
and where you are,
something else.
And where you are must be a jumping off point for something else. And it doesn't mean it even has to be in the same field or same perspective, but you now are there. But if you stay there, you will get stagnant. Wherever you are, when you feel you've mastered something or you have achieved a purpose, that is the time to search for more purpose. And it doesn't mean it has to be even a building prophecy. It could be a purpose outside of yourself as well. Just like within the hero's journey. When they question themselves and then they come back and they have that new sense of purpose, what usually happens? That's usually when they start to seek out other heroes and they build a team. Because it's not about just them. They realize that strength in numbers. And they build something stronger. And from there, what do they become? They become not just a team but of individuals, but they become a unit. They are no longer Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk. They are now the Avengers. So they become
Right.
something bigger than themselves. An idea becomes bigger, and that's just what it is. And I think that's God. Is just something bigger than ourselves that we constantly are striving to become better, because better is always better.
So these protagonists and these heroes that they transform into, do they do that because they muster up the willpower to make it actually possible, or do they do that because the writer made it so?
Oh, I want to say that I would hope the writer made it so only out of want and desire for their characters to have that willpower, because they themselves see the only stage up for these heroes is for them to keep upgrading and advancing. It's the same with almost anything, especially art related. If you're watching a show and and when I say stays the same, I don't mean it staying the same where it's like, I step in every week to watch these characters because I know them, who they are. But if you came and it was the same episode over and over, you'll be amused by it. You'll laugh with it. We'll use sitcom as the example. You'll be amused by it. You'll laugh at it. You'll identify with it. You'll memorize it. You'll enact it. You'll start to get bored with it, and you will drop it, and then you won't go back because it's stagnated to the point where I know this inside and out. There's no point in it anymore. So a writer has to know that a character is the same because life is the same. You can't stay in the same place and expect good things to happen. I'm not saying you should expect bad things, but stagnation is a dangerous place, especially if you're doing something destructive. You have to always be willing to, if not grow, be willing to be open to change. Because change doesn't always mean growth. Sometimes it actually, I take that back. It does always mean growth. It just doesn't always mean that it will be in a way that you are hoping it to be. Because you
Might be the manure that goes into the soil.
Tr-
Still causes growth.
See, exactly. That's it. That's just it. It's just like we smell that and we're like, oh, it's manure. That's no good. But then when you see the field pop up, oh wow, look at all the nutrients. What it did. It worked out very well, actually. I know back home, I grew up on a farm. My family still is there, and the Hutterites colony have started to do that with manure, spreading it on the field. So that's a lovely smell every now and then, you know. And when I say lovely, I am being sarcastic. Yeah, but yeah, it's always growth. You could move away, trying something new, and fail miserably in your efforts. Maybe you couldn't get a job, maybe your apartment was too much, and you're forced to move back. Did you fail, or did you go have an experience where, wow, I tried something very difficult and it didn't work out, and I was wise enough to know when it wasn't working, so I moved back to what I knew. And again, that doesn't mean you're going back to just go, well, I did that, now I'm going to go back into everything I used to do, because you can't. You still did that experience. And just because it didn't work out doesn't mean it was a failure. It just means you were wise enough to know it wasn't working. And you came back. I guess that's something that I'm more doing for myself. And I would hope others do as well. I try not to think of anything as failing. It's always a learning. You're always learning. And if you are wise enough to know something isn't working, you shouldn't be ashamed in stopping what you're doing. That means you had the courage to say no to something that wasn't good for you. Yeah.
Would you say that it's accurate that no matter when you look back on certain phases of your life, when you felt the lowest, would you say that didn't stay very long? There then came that desire to grow out of it? that desire to, even if it's taking on the exact same goal, just try again, or if it's something different, just move into something else. But either way, it's a desire to just get out of where that muck is and experience something better.
Always. I'd say
You
every
think that
time.
that's every time? I theorize that that's actually a common denominator in all human cultures
I would
and all
assume.
human lives. Is that there always comes that moment where that implanted desire comes up and says, I want to become something more now. I don't want to stay here. Whatever that is. It's something that causes us to then take action into another trajectory, and we can't stop it. It is
Yeah.
literally the desire that takes over our psyche because it inspires us. And when we're inspired to do something, we have the hope that it could happen, and we have the faith that it's actually possible. When you got those two things, the choice is already made. The desire made the choice for you because I think that'd be a good time, and I believe it could actually happen. Why wouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
It's the only option.
Yeah.
The only thing that could stop me is if I don't think I could do it. If I don't think I can do it, then all of a sudden, well, now action has been chosen for me to do nothing because my desire to do nothing, to preserve myself from that fear of failure, suddenly that becomes a stronger desire. But nonetheless, a temporary desire, because if it's not true, if I actually am capable of doing whatever I need to do to experience that hope, that's going to get proven to me through my character arc,
Yeah.
through the story arc of the becoming. Because, like you said, every single moment, no matter what it is, no matter if you go back to what you used to do or how you used to express yourself, no matter what, that moment right there is being utilized to inspire us into something. We're being shaped into something, just like a stem cell in its environment. It detects what's around it. That then causes a transformation on the inside to determine whether it's going to turn to a bone, into muscle, into skin. Nonetheless, it becomes predetermined from what it is experiencing, and we're always experiencing, which is always changing what we truly desire and what we believe to be true.
Yeah.
Thus, we render something new each time as we become shaped into a greater character, fuller transparency as to who we actually are, and not what, this reality tries to tell us we are.
Yes. And
But
it
what
is
are we actually?
always. It always.
Like, who is who is KG3? Who is King Gerald III? Ryan? Who is Ryan Meinecker? Like, when you look at your comic book, your quantum film strip that has all of your sequence of events, it has everything that you ever could experience, and it has everything that you will be predisposed into experiencing, including those moments where you want to choose something different. That's part of it too, because that comes out of a desire that was already apparent inside of you, which then is only utilized to bring you that much more into who you actually are. So either way, even when we mess up, that's still utilized to give us that much more of a win in the future, because it shows who we actually are, and we're inspired into choosing it. So at the end of that story arc, who are you? What do you look like? How do you express yourself? How do you experience your environment? What is that? What do you think that could be? Where is it all leading to? Like, as to a character, an expression, an attitude, what do you think your truest expression is?
A good chuckle.
Good chuckle. I mean, I could read into that, and I could spout a paragraph as to why that's profound. But what do you mean by that? I think that's brilliant.
I think it's all leading to just that very thing we just shared right there, because that's my favorite, is just us smiling and laughing. And if that is something that my character arc leads to, is everyone that I come in contact with, we can just laugh our way through the day. Oh man, I'm living life right.
So you're talking about a constant state of enjoyment. That's a moment where basically you're not going to have worries and stressors because you're too busy finding the comedic moment of goodness in this
That's
second right now, so
there it
that the
is.
mind can't really stray into other entertaining other possibilities that probably aren't true anyway. You have to be present in order to do that. You're looking for something that's comedic in the moment. Otherwise, how's the laughter going to happen?
That's very true. And it is not always easy, but when you find when you find passions in life, like I will say I've always enjoyed building. Right now I'm doing carpentry. I'm integrating back into the film industry really nicely right now, which I'm also enjoying because again, film is building entertainment, carpentry is building product and enjoyment for people in their homes. And there is a passion in the idea of creating. And I have found that recently, more so in the last year than I have in, I'd say, most of my work career. Because most of my work career has been listening to other people tell me what I need to do to get to the next phases and how to do it and where I should be placing myself. And I did that with a smile and with good intention, assuming they also had good intention for me. Never never putting to the fact that they also have their own agendas, their own goals, their own dreams. I said this recently to my mom when it came to so recently like I just said I've been integrating back into the film industry and I have been enjoying it greatly. And I've been given great opportunities, but it's taking me away from my deck installation job. And so I recently had a little bit of a chat with my boss through the deck installation because I've been giving him long hours and still trying to get my 40 hours, if not more, in for per work week while still integrating back into the film industry. Like I'll work on weekends for him to fill in where I went to film. And I said to my mom recently, I have been very upfront with him, telling him I don't want to leave you guys. I love the crew and I love what we do. But film is where my heart is and it's my passion, and I'm letting you know that it will take priority. I was open and honest and upfront. No trying to weasel around it saying, oh, yeah, no, I'll make you more time. It's just complete open honesty.
Right.
And his response back was so beautiful and respectful, saying, I get it, film is your thing, and it would just be nice if you could give me more of a heads up so I can schedule around your film because we love having you too and we don't want to lose you. So by being open and honest, stating, yes, I'm putting film first, but I want to not to disrespect you, the company, and what we're doing here. He allowed me. He was so open and receptive to the fact of like I get that because, and this is what roundabout way coming back to what I told my mom. This is how I described it. Rick, or my boss, has a dream, and I want to help him fulfill it, but it's not my dream. So I want him to know that I am in his corner, but I'm still fighting my own dragons. And it's stuff that I need to achieve myself as well. So when it comes to film, I feel myself being integrated back into it in such a healthy way because I'm also going back into it with a different mindset, a different desire, and also I'm controlling what sets I want to work on. I have no problem telling them, no, I'm not doing that day. I'm not working on that. I'm doing this day. I'm doing these type of shows. Do not send me out for that. Because back before the strike, a couple of years there, and for good reason, I was very good at just saying yes. I was the yes man, even when I didn't want to work, even if I didn't want to travel 2 hours outside the city for what ended up being a 4 hour day. I would still do it because I was the yes man. And they relied on me for that. So when I started to say no, they kind of were giving me attitude for it. And I realized that, that's not a very healthy environment, both for what I was putting myself through and also the people who I was respecting and thought were in my corner. It's not that they weren't, but they also have their own agenda. They have their own wants and needs. And that is just, I guess, a little bit of a transition, but relationships. There are relationships that are very symbiotic, there are relationships that are very one sided. One where, what can you do for me in this relationship? And relationships that are, what can we do together? And I've started to, from my center outwards, create relationships that are based on what can we do together, and also being able to know the boundary of what you're asking of me will not be good for my own soul. I cannot do it. And that's not because I don't want you to succeed, but I cannot allow you to succeed at the detriment of my own peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there's a desire to experience more of that wholeness, more of that peace, more of that harmony.
That's right.
So
And
that desire
yeah,
becomes more powerful than what we thought we had to entertain previously in the name of such and such,
that's
whatever
right.
it may have been.
And it's not, and again, it's not that I'm putting myself first in a it's all about me way. But there is, I know everyone's talking about it today, there is such an advocacy for mental health. And I think there needs to be more of an advocacy for spiritual health, for a centeredness. Because I don't want to be connected to, like, oh, I need to take the day off because my head is all in a spin. It's not that type of thing, but it's like I need to be able to not be a people pleaser when it will be truly detrimental to my own soul. It's okay to say no. It's an interesting thing to learn, because for a lot of my life I feel I've been a people pleaser. And that is all on me. It has not been anyone forcing me to be that way. It's me choosing to do so. But I've come to a point where I can't. Or I shouldn't say I can't. I've come to a point where I have chosen to come at interactions from only a centered and peaceful state where I will help anyone benefit, but I can't do it at the detriment of me. Yeah.
So I've been studying a lot of airspace lately.
Airspace.
Yeah, because I'm getting close to taking my exam.
Okay.
And the flight test. And knowing your different airspaces and the different regulations in each is pretty important.
Cool. Yeah.
And today, I was given an image, a model actually, of the different air spaces that are, imbued into our experience. If we were pilots, what are the two different airspaces that we can fly into? And when we're in those airspaces, what are the regulations? What's mandatory and what's just recommended? And there's this one verse that says that the principality of the air. Lucifer is the god of the air. So he was given dominionship through the process of Adam and Eve, where he was able to be the little g god of the world. So he got to call the shots. He got to make some rules. Within confinements, of course, because he's still got a role to play, but nonetheless, he gets to be the principality of this air. And that air says, okay, we can do all of these things that demonstrate who God isn't. We can bring to manifest all these different scenarios, all these different actions, all these different behaviors, all these different results that show who God is not. That's what we can do. That's that airspace. But then there's the heavenly airspace. The airspace where Jesus is king. And whatever his rules are, whatever his regulations are for that airspace, that's what goes. But the thing is, we have free will in the sense that we can fly in either one of these airspaces. And, you know, the airspace of darkness is not, it's not all that friendly.
No.
It's pretty nasty. Like if you read the book of Job, he got boils, he got scabies, he lost his kids, he lost his ox, he lost his house. Yeah, all of this stuff in the name of trying to make him suffer. That was the whole point, to try and get him to say, okay, I don't believe God's going to save me. But God knew that the desire and the truth put into Job is stronger than any doubts that can be shown to him in the external world. That desire to trust God is how he's designed. It's how it's going to happen. So what happens then is he kept one regulation of heavenly atmosphere, and that is, my God will be my salvation. Didn't know how, but he said, my God will be my salvation. What happened? Well, the story arc has to play out as the heart is projecting, and that desire is saying, my God is my salvation. Thus he experiences salvation. Not just that, but God being the provider of his salvation, where he multiplies everything that was taken away. So now that entire little airspace of darkness that, you know, his fears caused him to stumble into, because he said, whatever I feared, my fears came upon me. My fears came upon me. So fear is the doorway that allows Lucifer to do what it does, to bring our fears into our manifestation. It becomes the legal system of, aha, now I got a way in. Any doubt, any shame, any guilt, any fear, condemnation, all those things are the negative spectrum. That's the negative regulation airspace, the dark air. But what about for the people that have the king literally imbued inside of their hearts, where his spirit is present and active within our moment in our airplane, where now he's the chief flight instructor and he's in the co-pilot seat, just in case I mess up. I'm now the captain in training, in the captain's seat, and I'm doing my best to fly this airplane, but I'm not perfect at it yet. And I'm flying in dangerous airspace. But I got my chief instructor beside me that anytime that I'm a little bit too outside of the zone, he just slowly brings me right back into turning that 180 and getting back into the good airspace that brings life into the experience. And we can never go too far, because he's in the airplane with us. He's right there. He's in control of the process, while giving us the freedom to fly where we think we need to fly and do it in the way we think we need to do it. But then he always leads us back into his ways, which gives us joy, gives us peace, gives us the effects of the kingdom, which is righteousness. It is joy and it is peace. It is goodness. It's truth. And that is what our destiny is. We do everything. Every single decision is, there's a catalyst that says, I think that would be a good time. I think that would be fun. I think that would bring a good experience. We are always chasing after a good experience. It's just whether or not that actually turns out to be a good experience that becomes the question mark once we start on our endeavor. We file our flight plan, we got our point A to point B, and we think we know what airspaces we're going into, but not always. Sometimes we mess up the airspace charts, and it's like, oh, I thought I was in a heavenly airspace here. Guess I wasn't. That's okay. I got heavenly atmosphere as a bubble all around my airplane while I'm flying in this sphere of darkness. And that sphere of kingdom plasma will always have a gravity effect to get right back into the choreographed lightning strike path of plasma that brings me my salvation story right into the choreographed gates of heaven. There's a glorified path, manifestation of his goodness that's locked in. And we get to find his life in our moment and have his kind of faith, which brings us rest, which is why he says, all of those who are heavy burdened and want rest, come to me and I will give you rest. I will not put anything heavy on you. I will give you rest.
Oh,
And that version is always available. There's always a peace, because peace starts in the mind. No matter what our circumstance is, if I have an engine fire, I can go through the protocol of how to deal with that engine fire in a state of peace. That is a version that exists. I can do that in peace. I still got the engine fire. We're dealing with that. But my state can be one of still waters.
You aren't the engine fire. It's just being experienced.
And it's part of the story. It's part of the script. That's where we can find our faith and our trust, because what we're experiencing is what he always wanted us to experience. He's living inside of us. He knows exactly what choices we're going to make and how we're going to make them. And so then he's able to lead us. Just like he says, my sheep will hear my voice and will follow me. It doesn't say they could hear my voice and maybe if they hear me, they'll follow me. It says will. It's absolute language. He will always lead us back.
There's a quote I heard recently that I love. It says, if you look at the world, you'll be distressed. If you look inside, you'll be depressed. But if you look to God, you'll be at rest.
Yeah, that works. And at first I pictured looking to God upwards, but then I realized, no, he's inside of my heart right now. Now I looked into the core of my heart, not the imperfections that are still being worked into perfection, but the core of my heart where his rest is and his peace is and rules at all times. Peace can rule our heart at all times.
That's right.
That is a possibility.
It's
Appreciation is a state that's available in all moments.
We choose to be in the state. We choose the states. We do. Even through all traumas, we all go through experiences, highs, lows. And isn't it fascinating to go back to, we'll use Brian Block. That was the football player. That was his name?
Brian Banks.
Brian Banks. Apologies, Mr. Banks. Going to his story, there's someone who, his situation, he could have chosen to see prison as, this is my final destination. I give up. I'm done. The system and the people in my life have betrayed me, and this is where I remain. But he didn't. He decided to keep moving. The same thing to those who go through horrible childhoods, and then they go out on their own. They're finally removed from those horrible situations that they go through, and they choose to build something new, knowing that, yes, they went through that, but that doesn't mean that's who they have to be. They can use it as the stepping stone, the hero's journey. Everyone has a hero's journey. You just have to realize where you are in it and choose to take the next step. It's a choice. You gotta choose. Because if you don't choose, the world will choose for you. And that's how villains are made. Da-da-da. And even villains think they're the heroes of the story.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the world is always trying to choose for you. The world will choose for you if you don't choose for yourself. And choosing for yourself is choosing the path that God has laid for you. Because he's given us all a path. He's all given us the hero's journey. But we gotta accept it. That's what the free will is, right? Is the choice. The choice to engage with God and engage with your higher self, the path that will lead you to greater goodness, or the path that the world lays out, which doesn't mean it'll lead you to destruction, but it will give destruction as options. Like, why would you build yourself up when you could just sit in a bar and get drunk and feel good in the moment? And even that feeling good is a lie.
Well, I mean, why does that person even want to drink in the first place? What are they chasing after? Because there's a state that they want to achieve.
Or
I know
were
when
they
I drink,
escaping, right? Or were they trying to escape?
Could be an escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could be a haunting of thoughts. But really, that's still, trying to get out of a certain state. They don't want to be in a state of worry. They want to be in a state of peace.
Yes.
They want to be in a state of certainty. They want to be in a state of presence where they're not thinking about all the other stuff. They're just taking in the moment for what it has and just being happy.
That's right.
So really, what is it really all about that we're always chasing after? Because I would argue that we are always chasing peace. We're always chasing enjoyment. We just chase after the things that we think are going to bring us those experiences. We think that we need this one experience to get that enjoyment. But what if that's not necessarily true? Well, maybe that experience brings us something completely different that we did not expect. But we were chasing after it, thinking that was the best way to experience that enjoyment.
Well, and chasing, there's the word too. Why are we chasing after the things instead of just being the things? If you're constantly in a state of chasing, that is your state.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But would you say that, are you a goal-oriented person? Do you like to have a goal?
Yes.
I think so too. I think we're predisposed into wanting to have some kind of a goal, a trajectory to move toward. And I think that's part of the psyche, and I think it's healthy. In fact, I think it's important. And the way that I think that it's built into us. Another word for goal is a hope. We hope to experience this one day. We hope to achieve this one day. So a goal and a hope can be the same thing. Mm-hmm. And having a hope is a pretty important thing. But where I think it can get less serving and more demolishing is when we think we know how the pathway has to look to get to that goal.
Yeah.
Suddenly goals, and not to mention that, but also what is the goal really based on? Like, if we get that thing in our life, is it really going to give us what we think it's going to give us? Or is it going to be a completely different experience?
That's a scary
So did it
one.
even... But really, it was the hope of enjoyment that drove us the entire time. But what if we could actually chase enjoyment as the hope instead of a certain circumstance as the mechanism for that enjoyment?
Yeah.
And that becomes state shifting. State shifting is a very interesting concept to me because it says, okay, this is the moment right now. What state would I like to embody to experience this moment? Because I can have any state I want. I can have peace, I can have stress, I can have anger, I can have appreciation. I can show up in a lot of different ways to make this moment very, very different. Which one would I like? Because I can have any one of them. Yeah. Because we've been imbued with the power of imagination.
Well, and you gotta enjoy the journey, man. It's the journey. It's not the destination. I know that's such a cliche line, but it's so true. And for anyone who just is like applying it even to their just to life, I will use the best movie trilogy of all time as an example. Also, a great book series, The Lord of the Rings. I don't know anyone who's ever watching those movies going, will you just get to the mountain already? You know? Will you just throw the ring in the mountain already? Everyone's going, oh man, when they're going through Helm's Deep, that's incredible. When they met the elves, so cool. What, those big battle scenes? Man, that's so hard and amazing that they overcame them. No one's ever just waiting for the end. If anything, once the end comes, it's almost a bittersweetness. Because the journey's over.
So let's say a person had the ability, just like an Adam Sandler click, where they have a remote control. They said, okay, I want to get to Mordor, get to the part
That's a good
instantly
example.
where we can throw that in. And they have the ability to do it, and they actually do it. Yeah. And at first, they're excited about it. I'm like, it worked! Yes! Oh, the way he threw that was fantastic. All right, I'm done. Where's the next movie?
Yeah.
Would that be as good of an experience as a person taking in the entire movie for everything that it's designed to give, and then that person walking away much more satisfied? Who's going to be more satisfied?
It's a flat answer no. It's a flat answer no, because I love the example you use with the movie Click, because that's the very point of that movie is he's like, yeah, I'm going to skip forward to when I get that promotion. I'm going to skip forward to when the baby's not crying. I'm going to skip forward to all these moments. And he misses it all. He misses everything. and he's at the end of his life with the remote, and he's trying to do everything in his power to reconnect with his family, who he doesn't know because he was never there. And if
So would
that
you
is just
say,
it, like, it's like you want, that's where, like, even, and this is not to say, let's just quickly jump into crypto, and this isn't to say that we wouldn't love this. Everyone would love to just throw $20 into a meme coin and then boom, $1 million. But at the same time, that million means nothing. You did nothing for it. You got lucky. Doesn't mean you still didn't put the 20 in. But then there's those who will invest thousands of dollars into utility, and it takes time, and it takes stress, and it takes patience. Which one will appreciate that million more? The one who invested in something they believed in and was actually holding out for it, not only for themselves but for something that will be beneficial to all? Or someone who threw $20 down and was like, I just want to make a quick buck for myself, and it will be at the detriment of others? Who will appreciate that million more?
well, I feel like it makes the exact same result with the idea of the lottery effect, where a person wins the lottery and they lose it all anyway.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, if a person doesn't have the character, like me, for example, I even made a video one time about unconditional hope, where I said that, well, maybe everything can be used for our good because, sure, let's say that I achieve something great, but then I don't actually have the character to sustain it. So it just has to go away anyway. It has no choice. That's just the cause of an effect of a thing. If I'm not ready to sustain it, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
But in that experience of it being taken away, that shows me where I was off in my thinking and where I was flying in airspace that wasn't all that beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I get, when I'm given the same opportunity again, and that same achievement comes into my life, now I actually have the ability to sustain it. I have the character.
Yeah.
The character that allows me to be a good steward of, in this scenario, money. And so it's kind of like what you said before, because when you said utility tokens, you said that the patience, the ability to actually believe and wait, and to not to panic, to remain calm, all these different things, it's a state that you're describing. And one of the things that actually allows that to be imbued that much more into us, I believe, is just the state of trust. Because if you trust the outcome, and you have a good rational reason as to why you should be trusting, that's going to give you the peace. That's going to give you the patience. That's going to give you the character to not panic. So then, what if the goal, the hope, was to be in a constant state of trust? And our mind, our conscious mind, has actual rational reasons as to why it can believe something and just kind of trust the outcome because of it. Because there's got to be something that's going to satisfy the rational mind. You can't just want to believe something because, well, I want to believe it. The rational mind is going to be like, prove it to me. Show me the evidence as to why we should believe this. And if it gets that, now it can come on board too. And it can say, okay, I've seen the evidence. Let's go with it.
The verdict is in.
So that trust, though, what if that trust is actually what gives us the key into what I would call inheritance, the inheritance of our heavenly life, that comic book strip that gives us a sequence of events that put us into a kingdom expression of living, where everything that's a need is met in abundance. Everything that is of goodness and of love is experienced in abundance. Everything that is of diversity and a large spectrum and embracing the unknown into greatness is delivered. The good heart desires come to fruition in ways that we couldn't have even thought of. And it's trust, the state of, that allows us to give us an image as to what that would look like, and in every single moment. Because what if my goal was to trust him to the degree where I just convince myself every single day, just a little bit more, I convince my conscious mind a little bit more that I'm living his salvation story, that I'm living heaven on earth, that he has me on a trajectory that gets better and better and better and better, and the people that are connected with me, we all rise together in a better and better and better
We're gonna do it together,
cycle.
you and I.
Suddenly, what happens to the psyche and what happens to the emotional faculty is we experience peace. We experience appreciation because now we see everything as a gift. And now we know in every moment we're set for life.
There is something to that. We're so this might be cliche, and I don't even know if I should speak it in the way it's about everyone, but the fear of death, I think, actually keeps us from achieving that trust of a beautiful life. Because you know what the first trust should be, and it's not a negative, is the fact that we're all going to go back to where we came from. We should all trust that this is a finite time here, so we should be enjoying it, and enjoying it together, enjoying it on a like trusting that we are here to help each other enjoy this experience. There needs to be a trust amongst everyone that we're all experiencing something similar, but through such a personalized perspective. And I feel there's just this disconnect of that. There needs to be we need to have a reconnection of that. And I think that is where religion and spirituality always was a positive for humanity. It connects us, it bonds us, it says we are all the same. The individualized experience is such a beautiful thing, but don't forget that we are all having that. And that trust it. Trust that we are all here and we all have our story. We all have our arc that we are on. Where are you on your hero's journey?
You know, how much of a different story would it be if Darth Vader converted in the very first 5 minutes of the film and said, "Son, I love you"? Would it even be Star Wars anymore?
It would be Star War. I don't know. Yeah, would it be Star Wars anymore? It would. If it was called Star Wars, I'd be curious what the war would be. Right. The war, I guess, the war on connectivity.
And when it comes to the story arc of Luke and his father, how important is it to show how that came to be the way that it was, and how they come together as two opposite forces that are basically controlling the galaxy?
Yeah.
And polar opposites at that, but, you know, at the same time, harmonized in a way where it's like the perfect opposite of one another. But then in the end, Darth Vader gets converted into love anyway. But what if that's basically the theme of the world? We got all the different characters. We got different organizations. We got different darkness entities that are going to play their role as well. But if it's true, that's all laid out in a predisposed cause and effect way, where you know the beginning, the end, and the end before the beginning is even made. Would it be true then that every single moment is a perfect reflection as to where everything needs to be in the story for that moment?
I would
we got to
say
go through all of it.
Yeah.
So if I can trust that,
Yeah.
then I can trust that every moment is perfect.
And that's where faith always is. That's the beauty of faith. You have faith that even through the hard times, even through what the times you don't understand, there is an understanding. There's a reason. Just because you in your human shell can't understand doesn't mean that the purpose isn't laid out actually very clearly. And quickly to jump back to Darth Vader. How crazy would it be if he's like, "Luke, I am your father," and Luke, instead of going, "No," goes, "Really? Wow, where you been? Why is this? Like, what happened to you?" And started to ask him why he became what he did. And then Darth Vader has to reflect in on himself. Instead of rejecting his father, saying, "What happened to you, father?" And
Right.
then having
But
that, wouldn't that have been an interesting trajectory where it's like they don't even have to like Darth Vader doesn't even have to stop being an evil Darth Vader, and Luke Skywalker doesn't even have to convert to being evil or try anything. But imagine they actually started to have a relationship as those two individuals trying to understand each other.
right.
That
Completely
would be an
different
interesting,
movie.
completely different movie. And again, I
And
don't think
so
it's Star Wars anymore.
I would still like to see that version.
It'd be
But
interesting.
it makes me think that was never even an option. Because
Yeah.
the amount of pain that was already charged inside of Luke Skywalker's innermost being, it had to express itself. It was powerful. The amount of pain that was harbored up from thinking he never had a dad to all of a sudden find out that the villain of the universe is his dad.
Yeah. It's pretty intense.
That's only going to express one way. That's never going to express as, oh yeah, no, we should have coffee. Unless he's perfectly
Unless it's a
balanced as
good
human being,
coffee.
and he doesn't carry any of that pain. But that pain was present. So what happens? That pain makes the decision for him. However, there's also just the writer that wrote those words into the actual script itself. So the actor had to play that because that was the role of the character.
That's right.
But if we're gonna humanize it, why would that human say those things? What would compel them to actually express that version of themselves in that moment? And it's always some kind of a desire, either a pain or a hope.
Yeah. There's actually a funny story of of Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill saying, Mark Hamill's parroting what he saw Harrison Ford say, and Harrison Ford then reiterated the fact that it was true. When they were on set one day, Harrison Ford came up to George Lucas and was like, I want to talk to you about these lines. And George Lucas was like, yes, say them exactly as they're written. And he said, George, I think you need to start reading out loud what you write down, because when you're writing it, it might make sense, but read this for me and tell me how this works. And it's funny because there's a lot of in like the culture around Star Wars. The one thing that a lot of people say is like some of the things just like, and I could, it's like, so they're like, some of those lines sound very weird, like it's written oddly, like just odd, like it's like it doesn't even sound like real English. And as a writer myself, I've been told that one of my favorite things I had someone say is I give them a script and they're looking and they're like, oh, you and your tongue twisters. Just because, yeah, sometimes like the way you write it isn't necessarily how people talk. But at the same time, I'm like, but it like, and it's funny though, because it's whenever it's the tongue twisters that someone's like, how do I even say this? I'm always like, say it as is.
And why is that? I mean, is there a vision that you have tied to that character?
I believe there is. Yeah, there's always I always have an intent. It's funny that it's always the lines where I have an intent that people seem to struggle with how I wrote it. However, once it is recorded and it's on film and it's edited and they watch it, they go, okay, I see it now. It's something, I guess, for myself as the writer and editor, I already have the vision of why it will work. But them as the performer, they're trying to find their reason for saying it. And I do and like I don't just say the line. I do try to explain the joke to them, or I do explain it. Whether or not they pick up on the joke is neither here nor there. But I've had that, especially with Cloud Van, I've had that plenty of times where they're like, I don't get the joke in this. But then once the visual gag goes with it, they're like, I get it now. Okay, I see. Or it's like there was a line earlier in the episode that would feed into this line where it's like, oh, it comes full circle. So it's just, yeah, it's fun. And how many times does that happen in life? Where you don't know what you're doing. Or it's like you're doing something and you're like, I know I feel the need to be here and to be doing this, but I don't know where it's going to go. And then maybe it led to something. Maybe it led to you interacting with someone you didn't think you were going to. Maybe it led you to gaining a new skill that you didn't realize that you would need later down in life.
And it teaches you that you could have just trusted the process all along.
There it is.
You have to think about the other stuff.
Yeah, trust the process.
What a waste of mind thought.
Why are you questioning? If you don't have to question, why question? And there's something to that as well with, I would almost say, understanding people's intentions. Especially when I find it funny, whenever it's people you trust the most, family, close friends, I almost feel like at times it's you love these people. You know they have good intent for you, but you still question them the most. You question their intentions. Even when why do you even question it? If you do trust this person, why are you questioning it? Hey, I'm gonna go over to the store and I'm gonna pick up some air filters. Why? What do you mean why? I need air filters. Okay. Why are you questioning them? I know it's a simple and like silly example, but someone says, I'm gonna go pick up the air filters. I assume they need air filters, okay? But because it's like you're around them so much, or you love them, you know them, and that's something you don't hear them say every day. Maybe that's just it. Maybe I'm answering my own question. It's just because you're around them so often, it's not something they would say every day. We're just gonna keep air filters as the example here for whatever reason. And it's like, hey, I'm gonna get air filters, and your brain goes, that's not a common thing. Why?
Well, I feel like it comes down to credibility too. Like, is it possible that, some of the information that person gave proved to be false? It wasn't 100% true. So does my mind give them complete credibility of just taking everything that they say as it has to be true?
I guess so.
I mean, it's gonna make me think, well, maybe not. But at the same time, then, the mind wants some kind of a fundamental to stick to. It wants some kind of a stencil to say, this is most likely true or this is most likely false. It wants to vet the information and the credibility of the information source.
Yeah, that's true. There's truth to that,
And I
for
don't know
sure.
if we ever get that from people. Like, I feel like people, since we're all in this growth development together, we're all becoming into our perfection, but we're not there yet.
True.
Could they actually be a perfect filtering source of information? Or are they going to be filtering information and then spitting it out in an imperfect way? Since they're not perfect yet, that's going to be imperfection in what they broadcast because they're not perfect yet. Just, it's just like me. I'm just a person. I'm learning just like everybody else. I'm being developed just like everybody else, and we're all in our places where we're supposed to be and desiring the things that we're supposed to be desiring, but we don't necessarily know exactly how it's all going to play out. Yeah. Or if we think we know how it's going to play out, we're probably deceived in some way because it's going to play out in something else. Yeah. And then we're like, oh, didn't see that coming, but I'm glad it went that way.
Right?
That's even better than I expected.
And man, does that happen sometimes where you trust the process and you feel where you're going, but then when you get there, so much bigger, so much better. And that comes from trust, I think. Because if we're so dead set on what it needs to be that we get to, a lot of times we'll be disappointed if it doesn't align perfectly. But if we trust that we're going to be a part of where that will be, we're open to not just the idea, but everything that surrounds the idea. So when we get there, it feels like so much more abundance. Instead of going there and it's like, we got it. What's all this around it?
Well, I mean, the concept of trust entails that we have to trust in something, whether that's a vision, a business plan, a person, a faith. We've got to trust in something. And then the question becomes, well, this universe is built off of fundamentals. There's a truth as to how it functions, how the quantum reality fluctuates in the way that it does to make the different energetic expressions that it does and the mechanisms that make it happen. There's a fundamental truth as to how that works and how we are actually integrated into the process of partnering with that. Mm-hmm. So that becomes the main question then, that what is that fundamental truth? And how do I partner with it? So the fact that this universe is created, there's a purpose for it. And I believe that once we find that purpose and we understand it, That understanding then sets us free from every single fear, every single worry, every single negative expression of what our psyche can drag us into and experience.
Mm-hmm.
We can be brought out of that by understanding the fundamental truth of this entire thing. And then in that, we have complete freedom in the mind.
Yeah.
And then that, as we dwell more and more on that freedom in the mind, that translates into experiencing that freedom outwardly as well, because it's like a projection system. We're part of the mechanism. So being able to understand our thoughts, sift through them, categorize them, it becomes an indicator reflecting where we're at in our growth process, and it could be an indicator for suggesting what is to come, because whatever we dwell on, whatever we think on, becomes our reality at some point. So it's like a leading indicator of experience.
Yeah.
And the more that we're able to be grown into a place where we desire the things that are fundamentally true to our story and to this universe, the more we're going to be able to actually experience the best version of that moment.
Yeah.
How do we take in the most value possible, given that our moment is set right now? How can I get all of the coins that are available in this vicinity within the level of Mario?
By engaging. By engaging with your surroundings. By not being stagnated inside your own self. By allowing your own self to be engaged with your surroundings. I think that is how you best use every moment to your advantage. And there is a difference, of course. Always be like, there's the fight or flight, and there is the time to be thoughtful about your surroundings and what you're doing. That said, even if you're being thoughtful about your surroundings and what you're doing, you're not thinking restrictively inside yourself. Because I don't want to use the word depressed, but you can be depressed sitting on your couch in your apartment, or you could be depressed sitting in the sand on the beach. And in both situations, like one would say, it's like you're on the beach. Like you're like, why are you depressed when you're at the beach? It's sunny, there's water, it's sand, it's good times. There's volleyball over there. I'm sure there's a pickleball court, because that's a thing now.
I'd hit that.
And yeah, you would. That's why you'd get up and go. And then there's those who, it's like you're sitting on your couch. It's like, why don't you turn on a TV show, read a book? You got a phone, call someone. But you're staying in that space of, again, the choice. You're staying in there. And I'm not trying to in any way dismantle anyone going through that state. It's a horrible thing that a lot of people suffer from. But I do think there needs to be a change to remove yourself from it. So going back to what you're saying, how do you engage and make of every moment? You got to engage outside of yourself. And if you are engaging internally, it needs to be about connecting with yourself, not deconstructing yourself. I don't know how I kind of went there, but that's where I've landed.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's a good landing. And where I see that is boiling it down to embracing whatever the moment is. Embracing the good options of how we could experience the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then not just that, but doing it in a state of excellence. Because if I'm doing my very best at, maybe it's just watching a movie. How can I be the best God-blessed movie watcher of all time right now? What do I need to call forth in my abilities?
I'll tell you
to
what.
be the best movie watcher?
You watch the background, because we've done it, and it never does not amuse, especially if they're in focus. Because sometimes they're doing their job, and sometimes they're doing that little extra. There's nothing better than a backgrounder who is being the most overly active human of all time, like having a conversation like this. And that
So
background
that
is
would
me.
be that would be a great example of looking for a very specific thing within the experience, and that demands by default now you're going to be present because you're
Yeah.
actually looking for
You're
something that is
engaged.
truly there,
You're
and
engaged.
it causes you to engage. It allows your focus to be honed on something that makes you present in that action.
Yeah.
And for you, it's finding comedy in the background actors.
Oh, it's
It could
and
be
it
anything.
never disappoints.
Right. And yeah, and quite often, like, I'll use the one, like, I'll do a prayer first and I'll say, okay, Holy Spirit, I want you to give me a nugget of wisdom. What would you like to say to me through this movie in the form of a message of wisdom somehow? And so now my mind is primed into the idea of receiving some kind of a message or some kind of a teaching and understanding of how this is a parallel to our spiritual walk that'll bring us heaven on earth. That kind of an idea. But the important part is giving myself an assignment, a clearly defined goal as to what I need my mental allocation for. It's like my brain's a bank, and I'm like, hey, bank, I need these many units to dedicate towards this action. And the bank says, okay, if you can justify why you need such a large resource, we'll give it to you. It needs a reason. It needs a reason to actually dedicate that mental bandwidth to a particular event. So having a clear goal, it satisfies that. It says, well, I need to take my conscious awareness, my entire attention, and decipher and decode a holy message within this movie that's going to bring life not just to me, but to everyone I tell it to. So yeah, it's a pretty valuable thing. And the bank says, approved. That's a great idea. And now all of a sudden, my mental capacity is primed to really take in this movie
No,
because it's
no.
got a goal.
Now let me ask you this: you do your prayer, you find your goal into watching your movie. Have you ever been in the movie, watching the movie? You're looking for that goal, you're waiting for that prayer, and you realize, I don't like this movie, and you just turn it off.
Ooh,
Or do you finish
that
it?
might have happened.
Right. I'm curious. And when you turn it off, maybe there's a voice inside you, or even the voice of reason, the voice of God going, and that's why you don't watch that movie.
Well, I mean, here's Blade Runner 2049 was that for me. The new rendition of Harrison
Yeah,
Ford and Ryan. Yeah,
right.
I felt so dark and I felt so dank after watching that movie. I
Oh, it's
literally
bleak.
shook my legs like a wet, muddy dog and did a shudder as I walked out,
Yeah.
as if I'm getting mud off my back. It
It's
did
a
not feel good.
it's a
But there
depressing
was a
movie.
message in there that was still very powerful. It didn't leave me feeling joyous and peaceful, but it gave me a clear, defined reason as to what to avoid and how not to be human, because these things
Yeah.
weren't even human. I
Well,
saw it more
exactly.
as
Yeah.
the opposite. But
It was, man, that movie, it was visually, although depressing, very good. Like,
right,
visually, it's very impressive. The music soundtrack was spot on. I still think the acting choices were good. Like, I have no complaints on Gosling's performance or Leto's little part and Batista, etc. But the writing, not that it's bad, but yeah, what a bleak and weirdly just pointless world.
I still got some gold out of it. There's a lot
Yeah,
of black sand, that I had to spit out,
literally in that
but
movie.
I still walked away with some gold.
Well, I'm glad you walked away with some gold as you shook off the mud.
And at the very least, that was the truth of the moment. I was in that theater, I was in that movie, and I didn't have enough desire to leave. So the truth was, if I'm
Fair.
here, I might as well pay attention. Might as well take it in. And
How,
I did.
how often have you gone to the movie theater and just walked out?
Almost never.
Almost never.
I don't know if I
Yeah.
ever have. I've turned off shows in my own
Of course, in your own
room, but that's about it.
I'd say there's been maybe 5 times in my life that I've walked out, and of those 5, I'd say 4 of them were my choice. There was one where I went to go see Saw 10, and the person I went with was just not into it at all. Just, and for
So
good reason. It's just ah,
so why did
it's
you walk
just
out? Like what was like was there like a final like breaking point where it's like okay, that's it.
yeah,
Now I'm
yeah,
definitely out.
yeah. She just was like, no, I'm not watching this. Like she's like, you're in, and this is the worst part too, because like it's no, like they're, oh man, how do you describe those movies? Because for me, why I like it is I'm waiting for I watch those movies for the last 10 minutes, because the last 10 minutes I'm always curious on what the twist is. Because out of 10 movies, well, I don't know the 10th one now because I didn't finish it, but of 9 movies, there was only one that I said that wasn't worth the twist. The other 8 movies, I genuinely was like, yeah, you had to go through a lot of essentially torture porn, but the ending, wow, I did not see that coming. It's like they got me every time where I'm like, I didn't see that coming. So like that's why I like it. I like the thrill of like, why is this happening? Who's behind it? And is it someone we've been following the whole movie or not? And just again, like I don't even like they're those movies. You know what you're in for. And I
So
thought
what about
she
that
just
moment
knew.
though?
Oh, it was
You just
just
thought that she just knew. Oh, that it was
oh
gonna get
oh
better. That there's gonna
no,
be like
she okay. So this is what happens. It was just during an excessively gory scene, and she looks at me, and I'm just eating my popcorn, watching, just like I do in any movie, and she looks at me almost like disturbed and goes, "You enjoy this?" And it made me had to think because it's like, well, no, I don't enjoy it, but again, it's leading up to the end. It's leading up to why it's happening, and I'm curious to know what the reasoning is. It's like, why did these people get chosen to be horribly maimed and put through this
right.
game, right? And
Yeah.
even as I
And
say it
then
out loud, like describing the Saw movies, it's horrible. It's
yeah, no,
smut.
oh, I get that.
They're yeah,
I
right.
get
They're
that. But then
smut.
what happened? Did she walk out?
Oh yeah,
Did
she
she just
walked. Yeah.
walk?
Oh yeah, she just got. And because I was like, I wouldn't say I enjoy it. It's just it's a movie. I'm just here to be entertained. And she's like, you're entertained by this, and now it's making me feel gross myself because it's like, well, no, but at the same time, like it's just like as someone who creates horror movies myself and stuff, I can also appreciate the art of making things look creepy, and those
Right.
movies do a good job of just blood, the guts, the gore. It looks good. It's creepy. It's gross. It's unsettling, but that's what you're trying to elicit, right? You're wanting to elicit those feelings in that movie. Which, again, saying it out loud, it's like, why do we want to experience that, right? Why do we want to put ourselves through that? But then again, like some people, it's like, why do you want to go to war? And it's like, because there are some
So
people it's like they want to go overseas, and it's like, oh, you want to defend your country, and they're like, no. And it's like, so what is your reason, right?
right. So
Yeah.
she leaves,
Yeah.
and did you leave right away to follow after her?
I would say I waited a little longer, maybe like 3 minutes,
Do you know why you finally decided to go after her? Was there a
because
reason?
I got a text saying, "Are you seriously not following me out?"
That's amazing.
And so at this point, I'm like, I don't care enough about this movie to stay, because she had some good points. Even as I was watching it, there wasn't a moment as I was watching it going like, I'm invested. I need to see where this goes. I need to know everything.
Hmm.
Once we left the movie, she's kind of like, "Are you mad?" And I'm like, "No, because like it's whatever. It's just a Saw movie. I don't actually have investment to it. It was just I thought we'd go see a movie, and it was just it's like it's a series that's been around for 20 years. It has a cultural impact, so we were just watching it." And then I went home. We came back to my place. I just researched online. I was like, "How does it end? What's the twist?" I went to saw it coming, so it's like, "Oh, interesting." I didn't actually need to see it on screen.
So if you're really to analyze yourself, in that moment that you read that text, I said, seriously, you're not following me out? What was going on in your mind and in your just your innermost being? Like, was that a catalyst that said, okay, I'm gonna come now?
It was, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a callous, but it definitely made me go, what is more important right now? And there wasn't
Interesting.
there wasn't a single, like, and again, I think it's not unreasonable for someone to say, I don't want to keep watching this. And for the type of movie it was, like, put it this way, if we were in Lord of the Rings and she did that, have fun walking home.
Because
You know?
you have that much more desire to watch Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings follow through.
I'd have stayed because it's like this is like because it's like there's nothing disturbing or wrong about this. This is the hero's journey. There's lots. When it came to the movie Saw, it's like there should never be any situation where this movie's put ahead of someone else.
Mm.
You
So
know?
would you say that in comparison,
Mm-hmm.
the curiosity, the desire for you to stay and watch the movie was less. It was less than the desire to
Significantly less.
actually put your attention, give your attention to her as to what's more important, kind of a thing.
It was
So
significantly less, and the only reason I didn't
it
follow her out to begin with is because I felt like it was a bit of an overreaction. Because she didn't just say, I don't want to watch this, can we please go?
right,
She was making it personal. She was going like, you like this? You're into this? So it's just kind of like, well, I did choose the movie. I knew what I was getting into. Like, it's not again, it's not the fact that it's like, yeah, this is my jam. It's just, it's like I've seen all the other ones and I want to see where this one goes. And
right.
yeah, it's one of those like dumb ones. It's almost like the Marvel movies. I've seen all of them. I'm not even invested in Marvel anymore. Like I could care less about it because they've just they've fallen off. The Saw movies I'd say are the same. It's like I used to get a bit of a kick and a thrill out of them, and like I was interested, but like I'm only watching it now because it's like, well, I've seen all the other ones. I guess I'll keep watching it because it hasn't gone to the point where it's so pointless to watch. That being said, I'm also old enough and not invested enough to where once that text came through saying you're not going to follow me, now I had a big choice. It's like, do I wait this movie out and then an argument definitely ensues, or do I just walk out of this movie that I don't really care about and like I can would do exactly what I did, just look up later what happens, and also avoid an argument. And
So would you
avoiding
say
an
it's
argument
accurate then?
prevails.
Right. Would you say it's accurate then that your desire for harmony between you and her was greater than your curiosity to continue to watch the movie?
I mean, I would have to say there's something deeply disturbed and wrong with me if I chose to watch a few more people get mutilated over harmony with the woman I love. So,
Sure. So that's a rhetorical question. And the way that I see it, that made the choice for you.
oh
Was there
yeah,
even a choice in that?
there
Because
never
your
no.
desire for harmony between you and her was greater than your desire to continue to watch the movie. So what's going to win that tug of war every single time? The one that has the most desire.
Yeah.
And so what if desire is the catalyst of every choice that we make?
I like that. There is,
It's
and there's
just
something
whether or not.
beautifully profound to it. And I can bring that around to what I told you recently for my personal experience with what I've been doing for work. I have been putting where I desire to be above all else. Because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to give the 100%. If I decided, um, if like I took into account my boss in construction saying, no, you can't do film. He never said you can't. But it's like if he's, but essentially that is what I could take it as, right? It's like you can't do film. I need you here. I need you here. Then it's like, oh, well, your desire is, I'm going to let your desire for me being on job site override my desire to be in film. So, yes, his desire won out. But now my motivation and my energy will not be 100% at that job. Because I'll be like, this isn't where I want to be. And there's that level of desire. You should always put your desire first, not at the detriment of anyone else in a negative sense. But if you can't allow yourself to be unhappy in those choices, the desire needs to come first if the desire is healthy. That's the other thing too. And I think and we're using that's what we're doing. We're using desire in a healthy context right now. Like it's like desire is harmony. The desire for harmony both within yourself with the surroundings you have. And you need that. You need that harmony. Desire leading to harmony. Yes.
Would you say that you choose your desires, or do you discover what your desires are?
Ooh. I'd say you choose. I'd say you choose your desires, just as you choose your motivation. If I wait for inspiration to write, I'll never write. I choose to inspire myself to write. I have to choose to do it. If I'm waiting for that inspiration to come, that is your state. Your state is waiting. I think that's something not many people are told or taught enough. And I'm also, what I'm saying, I'm not, part of it is coming from many things that I've heard over the years and tried to apply myself. But you need to choose. It is choice. You need to choose to do things. And if you are waiting for something to happen, you're choosing to wait. That is your choice. Waiting is your choice. You have to choose to do. Because if you choose to wait, that is what you will forever be doing, is waiting.
Will it be forever, though? If that person eventually has enough inspiration over the time and they just seek growth, they desire it, will they eventually come to a tipping point?
Right there, though, your desire is growth. You're not saying I'm waiting for growth. Your desire is growth. So you're not waiting on it. You are choosing to grow because your desire is to grow. If your desire, but if I know it sounds silly, but it's just actually very, I find it to be so true. If you say you're waiting alongside with what you actually are desiring, that counteracts the desire. My desire is to be an actor. My desire is to wait, or like I'm waiting for the desire of acting to come to me. I'm waiting for the desire to come to me. You know? Or my desire is to be the best actor I can be. Well, if that is your desire, what are you doing? Well, I'm taking classes. I'm a part of the film industry. I'm writing my own content. I'm doing anything that can fulfill my desire. If you're waiting, you're just waiting. It's another example. And just because you're, and I guess like there's also the thing. If you're it's like just because you're waiting doesn't mean that. Or here's a better one. If you are waiting for one thing, while you're waiting for that thing to happen, you should be working on something else that you also desire, or that could still help you in that waiting period.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a silly but fun example for it. I wouldn't say it's fun. I'm about to talk about a hospital. When you're in the hospital, your desire is to see the doctor. They put you in the waiting room. But my desire is to see the doctor. But you have to wait. You are now in the waiting room. While you're in the waiting room, they come at you and they say, you have to fill out these forms before you see the doctor. Well, my desire is to see the doctor. I don't desire to fill out these forms. You don't fill them out. They now call you in. Where's your form? Well, I didn't fill it out. Well, you can't see the doctor. Just because it's not a part of the desire that you had doesn't mean you still it's like while you're waiting to get to your desire, you still have to fill out those forms. Those forms have to be filled out before you see the doctor. It's just protocol. So when you're in that waiting stage, you should still be doing everything necessary to allow your desire to take place. You can't just wait. Sorry, the last part. You can't just wait for your desire and do nothing in the waiting. Now I'm done. I'm complete.
Right. And I agree. I believe that is the cycle that we experience time and time again. The only thing that I would layer onto it, from what I can see, is that desires get implanted into us. There's even a verse that says this. It says, I believe it's Philippians, God will continually revitalize you, implanting within you the passion to do what pleases him. Another one also says that he knows our heart's desires. He also knows the desires of the Spirit, what the Spirit wants. And the Holy Spirit is constantly praying on our behalf before us in perfect harmony with God's plan for our life and the good things that we are meant to do. So this desire can now be a catalyst that can be implanted into us that then direct us into exactly everything that he has for us. But that's why we're never left alone in stagnation and in waters that just drown us, because he puts the desire into us.
Well, and there is, I'll branch off on that. You are, yes, God will put the desires in you to allow you to grow, but you have to choose to engage with them, just as you have to choose to engage with God. Everyone says, where is God? Why me? Where is God? God is waiting for you to go to him. He doesn't come to you, you go to him. He gives you everything you need, but you have to choose to engage with God. So that is the same thing with the desires. If desires are always being given to you, you have to choose to engage with them. And how often does that happen, where someone will be in whatever state they're in, but it's usually a negative one. They're in a state where there is so much being offered to help around them. All these desires that could help them pull themselves out, and they're so caught up in that despair that they're putting themselves in, they're keeping themselves in, that they don't see that there is help everywhere around them. But they're choosing to ignore it. One of my favorite, I don't even know if it's a joke, but it kind of comes off like one. But it's also just so heavily true, where there's a hurricane and a guy is stuck on a roof as the waters are rising. And a guy on a boat goes by and says, "Quick, get in the boat." And the guy's praying. He says, "No, God will save me." Then a helicopter comes by and says, "Quick, get up here." He throws a ladder down and he says, "No, God will save me." And then the waters rise and the man drowns. He goes to heaven. He gets to heaven and he says, "God, why didn't you save me?" And he says, "What are you talking about? I sent you a boat and a helicopter."
Oh yeah, no, it's the same thing with JFK Jr. Same idea. He flew right past 57 different airports where he could have landed, and knew that the weather wasn't good enough. His chief instructor actually offered him to fly with him because he was going into territories where he needed his IFR rating, and he wasn't ready for that. He had less than an hour of training on instruments. He couldn't just fly by them knowingly, but he said, "I have to do this on my own." So that predisposed every single decision for him, that since he can't take any of the gifts that are being shuttled his way, he can't land on those 57 strips, he can't accept the help, he has to do it on his own.
Yeah,
that's the spirit of arrogance. And it's just like in the book of James says, it's our evil desires and thoughts that then lead to actions. And when those evil actions and that evil is mature, it can murder us.
yeah.
I would say that JFK Jr., and that's what I told my flight instructor, my chief instructor, I said, JFK Jr. was murdered by the spirit of narcissism.
There's a lot of conspiracy circles that'll disagree, but go on.
it was the spirit of narcissism that was becoming mature inside of him that stopped him from being able to see all of the gifts and lifelines he was being handed the entire time.
Yeah.
He was oblivious to it because it's a blinding spirit. A spirit can only fixate on one set of understandings or a vision or a goal, and the goal was, I'm going to do this on my own, no matter what. I don't care about the people I have with me. I don't care about myself. I'm going to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite. If he was thinking, if he had been taken to a place instead, in a parallel universe, we'll say, different show, where he was simply looking for, okay, I trust that God has me wherever he needs me in all times, and he can rescue me from anything. If he had that predisposition, he's charged for looking for opportunities when things are looking dicey. He's not above getting help because he's looking for help all the time. He's saying, God, what do you want from me? What how would you like me to play out this moment? I'm going to do it in your spirit. It's always a spirit of peace and excellence and communication with you. So what's next? If he was thinking that, he would have landed the plane right away. He would have even taken off. He would have at least gone with his chief pilot instructor, because he would have had the humility and understanding that he's not actually where he thinks he is. He doesn't have the training for it. And then he would have been completely harmonious and safe and lived out that amazing wedding that he never made it to in that parallel universe. And the only difference is the character state as to where we're brought to. So what if we're at the state now where our desire is strong enough to simply want to live the customized, Christified life that our Father has written for us, the perfect choreography of a life of freedom, a life of abundance, a life of every good gift being received in each moment, even the ones that are hard, that just lead us into that much more goodness in the future, like Job. No matter what it looks like, it's more and more greatness. What if we say, okay, I want that, and I want you to lead me into it, and the one thing I'm going to chase after is I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you regardless of what starts to manifest in my life, because I know that you're using every single moment for my good, and you control all things, and you're leading me back to you, and you're doing it in your kingdom way, in your kingdom promises. And that's a glorified path of goodness, your goodness, a theme of being a testament of his grace and kindness. When that becomes a story arc, it's imbued with victory. And when I trust that, now I'm just looking for him in my moment. I'm looking for things that he's wanted me to experience, to give me goodness, give me peace, give me enjoyment, connections, relationships, provision, anything and everything that validates the idea that I'm living my heavenly life. My mind is going to be looking for it, because that's what I believe is taking place here. And what we look for, we find. And then what happens there? We experience the peace, because he's our peace. And that peace starts with the thinking of, I trust you, no matter what. And that enjoyment says, okay, I can do anything with God. There's nothing I can't do. Whatever he's written my script, he's going to empower me to do. If that means I'm going to be the world's best pickleball player, that's exactly what's going to happen. No fear. I'm not saying that's what it might be, but if that was, that's exactly what would happen. What is our future? What is it, the things that he has us achieving through his spirit and through his comic strip? I don't know. But there is also a pattern to that sequence, and it's whatever we think it is, it's better. And however we think we need to get there, there's actually an even better way that we witness ourselves being navigated through. And all of it is empowered by the concept of unconditional trust.
Unconditional love.
It's an attitude.
It is an attitude.
It's an attitude that says yes to the moment.
It's
that says, how much of the goodness can I take in here?
Yes. It's an
How
attitude.
can I partner everything in this moment for whatever it's meant to be? It's going somewhere good.
I think it's arrived at somewhere good. LA5
KG3.
This has been a wonderful conversation, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well.
Cheers, buddy. You have a good one.
All right, cheers. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. There's another good one. Bye for now.